Okay guys, today we're going to talk about parallel and perpendicular lines, and it's a very simple concept if you wrap your mind around it. The basic concept is you need to be thinking of slope whenever you see the word parallel and perpendicular. Alright? A couple of things that you should want to remember is that parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines, slopes are opposite reciprocals, and that's what this little demonstration is trying to show you here. If you put a -1 over your slope and put it in your calculator, it'll actually do the reciprocal for you. But it basically says you flip it and change signs, and that's all you're going to do. You take your original slope, you flip it, and then you change the sign. That's how you know you have perpendicular slopes. Parallel lines have the exact same slopes, or the m equals the other m. Now, there's three ways in order to find the slope, and today we're going to focus on how to find the slope using an equation. Think about it. We had 2 points, we had a graph, and we had an equation. And so now we're going to take time to find the slope. And the reason why we want to do that is because finding the slope is pretty much the majority of what you're going to do today. So I subtracted 3x from both sides, and I find out that my slope is -3. Okay? Over here, even though it's flipped around, it doesn't matter. I still need to isolate the y, or get the y by itself. So I got to move the x to the other side. So I add 5x to both sides. That's the x. So I have 5x plus 10 equals 2y. Divide everything by 2. And you get 5 over 2x plus 5 equals y. And again, I'm pretty sure we're not comfortable looking at it like this, so I'll change it around. Y equals 5 over 2x plus 5. Either way, you'll see that the slope is 5 over 2. Alright, so we need to be able to find the slope. That's a big chunk of what we're going to do today. Now let's use that in terms of parallel and perpendicular. That's old, and now here's a new idea. Find the slope of the line that's parallel and perpendicular to the following lines. Okay, so this equation right here is already in the form where it can tell me that the slope of this line is -1/3. So this right here is the universal symbol for parallel. The parallel slope is -1/3. Why? Because parallel lines have the same slope. So if these two lines are parallel, they got to have the same slope. This is the universal symbol for perpendicular. The perpendicular slope of this is 3, or you would say 3 over 1. Why? Because perpendicular line slopes are opposite reciprocals. Now I can't remember if I just said parallel, but if I did, I meant to say perpendicular. The perpendicular slope here, you got to do the reciprocal and change the sign. So that's how we get 3 over 1, or just 3. Now over here, we cannot tell nothing about the slope yet because it's not in the proper form. So I subtract 3x from both sides, and I have 12y equals -3x plus 12. Divide everything by 12, and you get y equals -x over 4 plus 1, which the slope here is not -x over 4. The slope in the equation is -1/4. Remember, there's a 1 in front of there. So the parallel slope is -1/4. The perpendicular slope is 4 over 1, or just 4 when you change the sign and you flip it. Okay? Now we have this number 5. Now it doesn't say the whole instructions. The instructions would be, if they were there, write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that contains this point and is parallel to this line. Keep in mind, in previous notes we discussed that the first thing you need to do in order to write an equation is find the slope, and the second thing you need to do is pick a point. Now notice here I already have a point, and they say it's parallel to this equation. Remember earlier I said that whenever you see parallel and perpendicular, think of the slope. In other words, they're basically trying to tell you the slope of this line. All you need to do is understand that if they say parallel, you use the exact same slope that you see here. So, in order for me to see the slope, I have to put it in the form where I can. So, I'm going to do that. divide everything by -2, and I get 5 over 2x minus 5, which tells me that the slope of my original line is 5 over 2. So I have a point, I have a slope, and so now I'll use y minus the -5, which is the y in that point, equals my slope, x minus 3. And what equation is this? That's point slope. This becomes y plus 5 equals 5 over 2 x minus 15 over 2. And then I subtract 5. This is what we've done in previous notes. That's actually minus 5 there. 5 over 2x minus 25 over 2. And in class I worked it out the other way using slope-intercept form. So in review, the idea is simply this. Whenever you see parallel or perpendicular, guys, they're trying to tell you the slope. We're interested in understanding the slope. If they're parallel, their slopes will match. They'll be exactly the same, sign included. And if they're perpendicular, they will be opposite or negative reciprocals of one another. All right. Peace.